Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you for attending the Monday, August 10th, 2015 Monroe Town Board meeting here at the Town of Monroe Art and Civic Center. We have the approval of minutes for June 22nd, June 29th, July 6th, 13th, and 23rd up for approval. If we can do this a little bit slower, then we need to just make sure that everyone was in attendance on those dates, and whether or not are we going to seek to approve it or we're going to hold it over. Regarding the minutes for June 22nd, the three councilmen were present. We need a motion.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Call the question. Any
Aye.
discussion? Sorry. Call the question. Aye. We need a motion for July 29th. The three councilmen in attendance now were in attendance then.
Okay.
We need a motion for that?
I'll move that we accept those minutes for June 29th, 2015. Can everybody hear me okay?
No,
Oh,
we
yeah.
did, we did the 15th, this is for the 29th.
29th.
Rick is here.
The motion is for the June 29th minutes.
We need a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
Rick, we're in the third on item number 2. We're at the July 6th approval for minutes.
My apologies to everybody for being late, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We have, let the record show, the Councilman Colon is here, and all four councilmen were at the, I'm sorry, I was not. I was on vacation. We need, this is for the meeting of July 6th, 2015. We need a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that we accept as presented the minutes for July 26th, July 6th, 2015.
Follow along.
Second.
We need any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
We have a motion for July 23rd.
Yeah,
We're all in attendance.
What about the 13th?
We did the 13th. Oh, sorry, you're right, 13th. Oh, I apologize. For July,
Well, the 13th,
July 13th.
there's two councilmen here that were there.
We have, let me just do this.
I was out.
Rick was out, I was, oh, that's right. Gerard McQuaid, Daniel Burke, that's recorders. We can't, that'll have to be set aside. Okay. And then we have for the July 23rd, we were all in attendance. Need a motion for that? Gentlemen, for July 23rd?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes as presented from July 23rd, 2015.
Need a second for discussion?
Second.
Call the question?
Aye.
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 Okay. Upcoming meeting dates and general announcements. As many of you are aware, and hopefully the entire county and extended beyond just the county boundaries, the Hudson Valley Film Festival will be held here at the Town of Monroe Art Civic Center from August 14th through 16th. You can go online to our town board meeting, or you can go to the Hudson Valley International Film Festival.com website. You can pick up the information, their schedule. They will be open from the morning until the evening. Hopefully it is going to attract not only a diverse audience, but it's going to bring in much needed revenue dollars into the community. It was hoped that we would be able to secure that festival. It took a little bit of time in doing, but I think that their support by the community, and I want to thank Mayor Purcell for his support. He's given a wonderful endorsement. He sent out to many of his constituents to support for the Art and Civic Centers with the Hudson Valley Film Festival to have this, and especially he appreciates the chance for the community and for the businesses here to be able to benefit from it. So remember, that's the Hudson Valley Film Festival for August 15th and 16th. Tickets can be purchased here or online, or if you need additional information, just go to monroecinema.com or to the Town of Monroe website. Item B we have is a announcement that we had a movie on 2 Thursdays past, a special sensory movie which was our first, and it was consistent with the type of sensory movie programming that places like AMC has done. We had a discounted rate of $6, which is in keeping with our pricing policy. Found out that AMC actually undercuts us at $5 on these kind of movies, but we were competitive. We're trying to make sure that that community is served and served well and are made as comfortable as possible. We had a turnout of under 20, but it was 20 happy faces and smiles, and we thank those people, those volunteers who put that together and in the process of doing some more of these movies. So we thank them for their dedication, their volunteerism, and their sense of commitment to the people that they care most about. We have, congratulations, a big shout out going to the Monroe Woodbury softball team, the town of Monroe Woodbury. Girls ages 9 to 10, the softball team is one of the district's sections and states, and they're off to Pennsylvania this weekend to claim the regional title for our district. I think I was reading that they won the first game, so tremendous opportunity to show the strength and the mettle of their character and their talents, and we look forward to seeing them blaze on to victory. We have a financial resolutions. We have a resolution to pay the bills. We need a motion for it. Motion to pay
I'll
the
make a
bills.
motion, we pay the bills.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
And give me a moment. Peter, do you have transfers in here?
We do.
Okay, bear with me. Okay. We have a request for a transfer of $400 from A000-7124 4500-0000 favor farm contractual to the A000-7124-4210-00 favor farm utilities line. This will fund heating oil additive.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? Call the question.
Aye.
There's a request for a transfer of $2,455 from A000-0207 Animal Shelter Reserve to fund the A000-3510-4303-00 Animal Shelter Building for repair and maintenance. This will fund the installation of emergency lighting as required by agricultural and markets law.
So moved.
Need a second with discussion?
Second?
Any discussion?
Second, yes, was this budgeted for you? Or is this an emergency repair, or has this been?
This is
budgeted?
required by Ag and Markets.
That's not what I asked.
What do you mean it's
Is it an emergency?
I said,
I don't think so.
have we planned for it ahead of time, or is this?
No, that's
something
why
that-
it's coming out of the reserve, well, not out of
So
the
I
budget
wanted to
money.
know.
We have a reserve fund for the shelter. Capital reserve.
Any further discussion? If not, call the question.
Aye.
Aye. We have an appropriation request from the SW14 fund balance to increase the budget for SW14 8320-2000-00. This will fund installation of an air compressor. Peter, you can discuss that.
Well, we,
So moved. So moved.
Sorry, we need a second with discussion.
Second.
Sorry, we need a motion and a second with discussion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. This is for the water district.
yeah, the water district had been running using the well pump and the distribution pump to supply pressure. And that ran into some problems. It wasn't working too well. So Jack Sherry had to install a compressor in the system. And the capital equipment line, the equipment line, the 2000 line, was short for being able to pay for that. So we need an additional $500 to pay for that air compressor.
Yeah, and without the air compressor, the pump runs continuously
And brakes.
and breaks down. So you need an air compressor in order to have a reserve of pressure so that the pump can stop and cool off and rest.
That's correct.
That's what we're doing.
Peter, this is not included in Cody Hauser's estimate of probable construction cost for the system improvements.
It may be down the road, but that whole thing will be built on there'll be a new pump house built for that, so
And
It's
this will
just,
be compatible with this?
oh, yes, absolutely.
Not,
Dennis, can you tilt your mic down?
Who?
Dennis?
Dennis, can you tilt your mic? Good. We're okay otherwise? Okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion? If not, call the question.
Aye.
A request for transfer of $1,300 from SW 10-8320-4370-00 water purchases to SW 10-8320-4109-00 miscellaneous expenses. This will fund replacement of a chain link fence. Again, Peter?
Well, over the winter, the chain link fence that protects the connection where we panned off from the village of Monroe to the Pine Tree water system. There's a small chain link fence around that vault, and something happened to it over the winter. It was totally destroyed, so it needs to be replaced. And the water purchases line is running with some balance, and I checked after the third quarter bills came in. So this is a safe amount of money to move from water purchases to the miscellaneous expense to pay for the chain link fence.
Any further discussion?
Peter, is that is that chain link fence on Pine Tree?
Yes,
That's not the first time that fence has gone down.
You're right,
Is there,
it's
is
not.
there more, is there a better way to protect it?
Landmines.
I think that this
Steel
time,
cement pillars or something?
yeah,
Just on the corners?
I think this time what they did do is they put some metal in the fence so that you can actually see it. Before, you couldn't really see the fence, it was just an open chain link.
Right.
But they ran those metal pieces through it so that, like when you come from your side of of Pine Tree Road, you can actually see it now. You couldn't see it before.
Who's going to be installing the fence?
It's been
Gonna be
installed.
highway?
It was
Installed?
installed. No, it wouldn't be highway.
The only reason I ask is that maybe highway can put those reflectors, metal poles up right across the fence, because if somebody's running into it during the winter time, at least it's reflective. I mean, I don't want to put, gigantic boulders there for them to kill themselves, but at least if they can see it before they get there.
Not a bad idea. You want to call the question?
Call the question? I'm sorry, any further discussion? If not, call the question.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Who made that motion? Who made
Want
that
to redo it?
So,
We need a motion then, let's redo it. Need a motion to transfer $1,300 from the SW 10-8320-4370-00 water purchase to the SW 10-8320-4109-00 miscellaneous expenses. Can I have a motion for that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to make that motion.
And we have a second?
Second.
Any
Second from
discussion?
Dennis. Okay.
Second from Dennis, any discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
Aye, thank you, gentlemen. We have a transfer request from A000-1990-000-00 fund contingency to A000-5132 4303-00 highway building repair and maintenance. This will fund repair of issues identified during NYMER insurance site review. We need a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
We need a second discussion?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, I have a question. Peter, this is funding for the building. Is Highway going to do this, or is this something which?
No.
Who?
Eloy has contacted Jack Sherry to do the repairs.
My question then is, if we transfer it to the highway building repair and maintenance, is that something which falls under the scope of the highway department's budget? And if so, then do we need authorization from highway to be able to use that money to be able to affect the
Well,
changes?
it's a point, but that's the line right now where highway building maintenance and repair is in this year's budget. So to your point, maybe in the 2016 budget, that line should be funded in 16-20.
Then, unless there's nothing that restricts us by statute, I would ask the board to give me authorization to request that we have in writing that it meets with the with the highway superintendent's approval,
Okay,
because we're taking from his line.
that's a good point.
Okay. I saw the NYMER report and the pictures. Does this include the damage to the front doorway?
No.
No, that's a separate item, okay.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
Okay. We have, under old business, we have, and Daniel, Peter, this is for the Walton outlet screen replacement. It is a request for $8,500.
86?
$8,600. It's the bid for an aluminum and aluminum material and stainless composite 304 for replacement of the steel grid at the Walton Lake outlet. This is, if you look at your notes from Magui, Hauser, and Edsel, this was a request for quotation bid that went out in early July, and we received back the bid. I believe there was only one bidder, and we can either rebid it or we can move forward with it. But we did have only one response, and that was from the company, Romar.
Romar Contracting Incorporated.
They're located in Walden, New York.
Now, this is an issue we've been looking at for the last almost a year, I would say. And you've all heard the story that the cars are bigger now and they don't need to have those smaller passageways. So the larger it is, the easier it is to keep clean and keep the level of the lake healthy. So, we have to do it. Our engineer did the specs. He sent it out to 5 different companies. We only got one bid back, $8,600. And we have a choice of aluminum or stainless steel. And helping him, I think we should do it because I've talked to a number of people and they said 6,000. But this is within range. And the only alternative would be to redo the specs, put it back out for bid again, and see if we can get it a few $100s cheaper. But I think we should do it. It's quite necessary for the health of the lake. The citizens who live around Walton Lake want this done, and they've wanted it done for a year now. And I support them in what we're doing here, and I think we should just go ahead and do it. And our building and maintenance under Eloy Garcia, it keeps the grade clean now. That Simon had varied from highway to building maintenance to private citizen. Now we have a clear one person in charge of making sure the thing is clear, and he's got to oversee the installation. So I'm ready to vote yes.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I don't think we have much choice in this, do we?
Well, we do. We can rebid it, but it doesn't seem as though might not be effective. We didn't have anybody else. It's a custom piece of custom grading. It's one thing that was in stock. It probably have one value, but because they have to fabricate it,
Yeah,
it's in a
that
different
gets expensive.
Yeah, they have to install it. They have to get down in the water and do it.
No, your fabrication's don't cost you more than anything else.
Yeah. And they got to take the old one out and put the new one in, and it's not going to flush down the pipe while they're doing it, so it's not an easy job.
And if there's no further discussion, maybe call the question.
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Now, on that, you need to
Authorize.
you need to appropriate the funds for that from the Walton Lake Reserve Fund.
We need a motion to authorize the transfer of $8,600 from Peter Ware,
Walton Lake Reserve.
from the Walton Lake Reserve Fund to
Just say to pay for it, because
Okay.
I'm not quite sure
All
what
right.
line we're going to
To
do that.
pay for
We have to create a new line for it.
to pay for the replacement grid at Walton Lake. We need a-
I'll make a motion.
We need a second.
Second.
Any Questions?
Cologne intersection.
Call the question.
Aye.
We have a bond request that's been going on for a couple of years. This is Mr. David Macon. There's a bond that we have had for about 5 years, and that was for his Macon development. That's over by Orchard Hill Estates.
I remember hearing
Built
about it.
out.
Mr. Macon has requested throughout the years if the town would consider returning all or part of its bond. We've instructed Mr. Macon that there are probably some indebtedness and some requirements for the work to be closed out. I think Mr. Macon is aware that in order to do this, one of the things that we need to do is have Mark Edsel come in on an hourly basis, which is at this point $125, to come in, be able to sign off or be able to determine what needs to be done so he can sign off. We spoke with Mr. Rizzo today, and Mr. Rizzo indicated that if the town engineer signs off, he will obviously support the review of Mr. Edsel.
The highway has to accept the dedication of the roads. That hasn't been done yet, I believe.
I thought he did accept the dedication of the roads. We're going to have to check on that.
Maybe
This isn't for the
that's
roads, this is for the, a bond, to return a bond, but in order to return the bond,
Performance
we have to know what has to be done. Mr. Macon, if I understand correctly, erected a fence around the retention or detention pond. However, there's some more work, and that was voluntary, that was not something which the planning board had required, but something that he did. That being said, we still have some issues of overgrowth, but that's something as the district is formed, it'll be part of the taxable burden that the district will have to wind up incurring over time. But this is a way to be able to start the process of closing out the Macon development once and for all, and then at least start, Mr. Lawrence, good news, you got your crate for Walton Lake.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. So it's to authorize, I had it down as a fixed number, but if we can do 10 hours at $125, it's authorizing McGuihouse and Edsel to prepare a final analysis to submit to the board. This money will be taken out of the bond which exists, and not something which the taxpayer is on the hook for. But we need to make the motion in order to do it. It's Mr. Macon's responsibility.
Well, the money's not going to get released until the engineer gives the okay, correct?
The money won't get released, but Mr. Edsel gets paid once he presents the invoice, and that's paid out of the bond.
That's correct.
That's paid out of the bond. Gentlemen, I think I'm stating it correctly. That being said, we need a motion for it?
I'll make the motion.
A second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Any discussion on this?
Our engineer will go out there and make sure everything is acceptable, and then we can sign off, return whatever's left over to the developer, and be on our way.
All right, so the motion is for the $125 per hour, not to exceed 10 hours, for a total of $1,250, and that money will come out of the existing bond that Mr. Macon has with the town of Monroe. If there's no further discussion, call the question.
Aye.
We have approval of Supervisor Peter, do I need your help on this one? To sign the SFA for Water District 14 emergency permanent repairs.
You have been presented with an estimate of what it will take to fix the damage that was done when the tanks sprung leaks in Water District 14. It's approximately $400,000, a $400,000 project, at least as estimated by the engineer. And we need to, you have authorized Jack Sherry to place orders for the 2 tanks that are required for this project. And we need to move forward with doing the work. So this is authorization for, I believe, for the paying the engineering work that was done and starting to move forward.
It includes, according to McGuey Housing, that's the building construction, the water storage tank, the hydro-pneumatic tanks, the booster pumps, the process piping, the chemical feed, the electrical instrumentation, and the site work, as well as construction to contingencies and surveys.
And a new pump house.
And that bill comes to $390,000.
And $575.
Wait, one more time? What was that?
$390,575. That's for Water District 14.
570?
Gentlemen?
Are we at any risk that we're not the owners of the property?
Uh,
I beg pardon?
I think you might be,
We are
you
not.
have to remember that you are the temporary
I
operator.
understand that.
So I would think that
That's-
that
that's one
would
of the-
play into the, I wouldn't answer for the
One of the
attorney.
questions we've been trying to find out. Here we are. Is there any question that we're not the owners? Nobody wants to be the owner. So we're the only people that have actually stepped up.
I
But we're
understand-
not the owners. We're
I understand
definitely
we're
not
the
the owners.
temporary operators,
And we're not going
but
to
we're
be.
not the owners of this property.
Absolutely not.
There is no risk to the town or to the water district if we begin this construction project without having title to the land.
Here, this is kind of like the timetable that we have here.
I understand.
Right when the snow falls,
Right, but that's really not my question.
well, yeah, but when the snow falls, what's there will turn that tank into an ice cube, and there will be no water in that. And it's not even a water district yet, because the state comptroller has not approved it.
Just adding another level of risk.
Yeah.
More-
Right.
It's another level of risk by $390,000.
You're right.
The clock doesn't stop ticking because we already have put the assets of the town at risk by doing what needed to be done as the emergency
Right.
overseers.
Temporary
Well, we've-
operator.
Yeah,
Temporary
but
operators.
to this point, the expenditures have been sort of minimal.
Well,
Just
actually, Dennis,
did something tonight.
that quote-unquote water district owes the town on the order of $150,000 as we speak. Because when the town was made the temporary operator, there were no funds for that district. They didn't have anything to transfer to the town. So we started up there for those folks with zero.
Right, so actually, you've gone ahead to my third question. Let me just back up to my second question. Could we get some input from council to find out where we are with acquiring the deed to that property?
Yeah, I see Councilman McWater's point. He's looking at spending $390,000 to build some structure on a piece of property that we don't own. On a parallel line, we're working with two attorneys to gain ownership of that property. And we have a couple of ways to go. We'll be discussing it tonight in attorney-client. We think we could be in possession of it within 2 months, which would be before we start the construction. So, we want to avoid what Councilman McWaters is warning us of taking $390,000, building a beautiful structure, and watching somebody else put their flag on it.
Gentlemen, I'm going to interrupt on this,
Yeah, go ahead.
and here's the reason, and that's,
I'm really hard to
I think
interrupt
we're
on
going
it.
to pull this out. I'm going to pull this off.
What about,
Bear with me, Peter.
Right.
We are going to be talking to the village of Monroe very soon. And one of their issues were whether or not they wanted to take over the wellheads. There are issues here that may be something which we may not have to take the next step if the village of Monroe is willing to take the responsibility. If they take the wellheads, then obviously they would take the risk associated with this as well. If that's part, Peter, let me just finish,
Yeah.
please. If that is part of the negotiation, I think it's something, and it would be premature, and I apologize, because it literally was yesterday that this came about.
but remember, if the town has invested in excess of $150,000, that whatever you decide to do needs to come back.
I understand.
And this project, in order to be able to move forward, we need at least to be paying the engineering fees so that we can get that part of it taken care of.
However, we're going to have another town board meeting on Monday. next Monday, I believe. That being said, we have an opportunity to be able to sit down, council to council, as well as anyone else who may have an interest in this, in the subject property. I'm asking the board if we can withdraw this until the next town board meeting to give us time, and I'm thanking Councilman McWaters for pointing out, because, again, this is a hole that gets deeper and deeper, and if we are not going to be the temporary overseers of this, then let the village step up, indemnify the town for the money that's laid out, and let them move forward if that's what they want.
I can see with the anxiety that the controller comes from, because he's looking forward to how long this will take to get done, and when the winter comes and the water will freeze. So, were the tanks ordered already,
Yes.
Controller? They were, okay.
They are, or
Okay,
not
so the
ordered.
tanks take about 12 to 14 weeks, but that has been launched. So
They are
putting it
in
off,
fabrication.
yeah, so putting it off a week, I don't think will put us, into winter. So, we're going to have attorney-client this evening, and we're going to be talking about the legal niceties around this, the gaining ownership of that property. So this will get Councilman McWaters a chance to hear and ask all his questions of our attorney, and then let's come up with a plan. And it's possible we could come back out, folks, I'm sorry, and commit to the $390,000. But let's talk about this with the attorney in the attorney-client session, and then either handle it later tonight or handle it next week on the 17th. We had a meeting on the 2nd that was canceled because of fuel, so we moved it up to the 10th, and our next meeting is the 17th, so it's only 7 days off.
Before we abandon this topic altogether,
Oh, we'll never abandon this.
I didn't get to my third point.
Yeah.
And as long as we're doing this in public session before we retire to executive session and make some decisions, I think the public deserves to know, or at least hear my third question and get a potential answer here. This water district, which has not been formally described yet legally, and the ownership issue, which we've already discussed, is if you take the $400,000 or $391,000 that we're looking at here, the $500 we already moved in the budget maybe 15 minutes ago, and the $150,000 already spent on this particular to-be water district number 14. How is this going to be funded for the residents of water district 14? Where will the capital come from?
Once the district is officially formed, you will then need to make a bond resolution to borrow that money for that district.
So there will
And
actually
that's how that
be a
will
borrow.
be refunded, and that district is looking at a lot more expenses than, in addition to what you've already
Yeah, this doesn't fix
enumerated,
anything.
because this doesn't do anything about the mains, and they're in bad shape too.
The
Okay, I
one
just wanted to
thing,
make sure that was on the record.
right, we, from what I recall, this has been going on almost, what, 2 years now? More than that. And at one time, it was a privately owned concern, and they walked away from it.
Right.
And we never went after the estate of that individual.
It doesn't exist.
So the land is in actual legal limbo, from what I recall.
That's just attorney question.
I believe that the land, no one's paying the taxes on it now. And at one point, the town actually put up the money to pay the taxes on it, to prevent it from being taken by the county.
So we're into that as well.
Part of your 150 grand.
That's part of the 150.
But if you remember, nobody wanted to touch this. If you look back at...
And nobody still wants to touch it.
The Public Service Commission didn't want to. Everybody...
I remember that.
They pointed the fingers, they made all the, the accusations, they did this, they did that. The promises of help. This was the county executive, this was the legislature, this was Albany, this was everybody. And no one wanted to get their hands dirty on this. It was only the town of Monroe. Now we have an opportunity to open a dialogue, or a dialogue's been opened with us, in terms of the acquisition of the wellheads. If the wellhead acquisition means that they're willing to take over the responsibilities of not only what we have here before us, but the rest of the district, then that's something which the village might be able to justify more better than we can. We're dealing with a sizable problem, and maybe they've come up with some kind of an alternative method. I don't know what to say. They are in the water business. We are indirectly in the water business compared to them, and maybe they have a better solution. I don't know. And maybe that solution is coupled with some other issues which we're going to have to discuss in attorney-client later on, because it deals with issues of litigation.
Right.
So that being said, it's a deep hole that which either we're going to get out of and somebody else is going to jump into, or we're going to wind up continuing this until we get some kind of relief or a determination from the comptroller's office, which I feel as though we are making some headway, but then again, that could be just lip service as well.
Well, the whole thing is we can't abandon those people
No.
with that water district. That's not right either. So,
That's the bottom line.
the bottom line, we
Yeah, thank
cannot,
you.
no, we're not going to be abandoning the whole water district. There's too many people that live there,
But we-
and it's a serious issue.
But we have a way ahead that we're looking at, and we'll be working on it tonight, in attorney-client, and, we'll lay it out. We're trying to keep the water users and the public informed, but, we're not going around in circles. We got a path ahead of us, and we know what we want to do.
Okay, so we're setting the sign, correct?
For this, for,
Great. Gentlemen, thank you for that. If we can move on to the next one under new business, this is the Town of Monroe composting resolution. And this is a resolution, I think this is something which is a long time coming. Sometimes I don't understand how something so simple could take so long, and I apologize for this. This is a resolution for an on-site leaf mulching and composting resolution, which reflects the village of Scarsdale. Gentlemen, you have this in your package. I can read this if it's what the board requires, but otherwise it's fairly straightforward. Whereas in accordance with the village of, in this case, in the town of Monroe,
It's in the packet, right?
it's in the package.
So everybody's got to look at it.
Look, it's adopting that resolution and changing the municipalities from the village of Scarsdale, county of Westchester, to the town of Monroe, county of Orange.
Are we required to read this out, or can we just hand on copy?
We wouldn't vote on this. This has nothing to do with us. I think the attorney should be looking at this and then carving it and wordsmithing it so it fits the town of Monroe.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have a sustainability committee. We don't have a village board of trustees. There are a lot of things here that need to be parsed out.
Okay.
The attorney can take a look at it, give it back to us in a form that we can actually call into local law, establish the public hearing, and then move forward. That should only take.
We'll put that to the,
Wait, start tonight? I think we put that on the agenda for next week.
Okay.
Thank you.
we have as Councilman Waters had suggested, we have a revenues and expenditures presentation. This is by Dr. Martin. It has to do with TMAC, but as we go on, it'll probably be including the Parks and Recreation, dog shelter, the boathouse, and other departments, so that we can better understand how the revenues and expenditures both complement or conflict with each other in relation to the town budget. Dr. Martin?
Okay.
You got your...
Let's see if we can make it a little bit bigger for you.
Go ahead.
So to start on this, what I've done is summarize all funds that have been spent within the four walls of this building, starting with the acquisition of the building back in 2012 and $80,000 down payment over here that was made. And that was, in order to understand these expenses, they're of two types, because for some of them, they're capital expenses. Those are highlighted here in turquoise, and that's capital money that's been spent on this project. And the distinction of capital money, as we've said many times, is that capital money is not coming out of a current budget. Funds that have been accumulated over time for many different reasons. We have capital money available in the town-wide fund, and we have it in the unincorporated town funds. And the board has appropriated some of that money, capital, for the project, and that's the turquoise here. Then I tried to break out the expenses for you to see them a little bit in relation to the actual theater itself. This is the theater, this brown, dark brown. And these expenses, by the way, are for 2015. The expenses are as of July 31st. So as of July 31st, we have spent in the cinema operation $516, and that was offset with revenues of just under $100,000. So that, in terms of the operation of the theaters, that's where we stand essentially year to date.
How is that revenue generated? Right.
Again, I thank Dr. Martin for
Now-
doing this, and also our councilman Waters for moving this forward, so.
Now, the revenues. Let's see here. Just a minute. The revenues, here is a distribution of the, I said the revenues are $100,000. So this is how that $100,000 of revenue is broken up. It's cash and ticket sales, credit and ticket sales, concessions, cash and concessions, credit card. So this is how that percentage of that is broken down. And this is the result as of the 31st of July. This is the result that includes sale of over 10,000 tickets in the first 10 weeks of operation of the theater.
Peter, could you go back to the previous screen?
Please.
Now you have the numbers right prior to the pie chart.
Oh,
Thank you.
which one?
That's the one.
That one.
That's just the breakout of how the, yeah, here, I've got that summarized as well.
No, this is good enough. I'll take that. No, we don't need that. I like the actual numbers. I don't want percentage.
Well, actually, what you want to do is probably want to look at it this way, because that tells you how those things break out.
I want the concrete numbers.
Well,
Ladies and gentlemen, please do not call out. We're trying to make a presentation. I know that there's not another town or village anywhere in Orange County that does what we're doing right now. So even though, ladies and gentlemen, if you find this to be a funny moment, we can take a rest, we can take a recess, and we will wind up trying to present this the way that we used to present it, and the way that other villages in Orange County, where the other villages and towns do it, and that's simply by doing it right in front of us. And if this isn't a better way, then we'll choose a different way to be able to present the same information. So, Mr. Martin, please continue.
Well, since this is not the departmental report, what I wanted to do tonight on this was just give you an overview of where things stand. You did 10,000 tickets in 10 weeks. You collected revenues in just under $100,000, and those revenues are broken up, as I showed you, and the operating costs are as I'm presenting them to you here. So that operating costs include actual staff, and that's this 42% of the expense is to staff. That includes the folks that run the concession stands, that do the ticket booths. It includes the building security that's on duty during theater operations, and it includes the staff that run the projectors. The film procurement is what it costs to get a film. It starts with Downing finding the films, the booking agent booking the films with the distributor getting it to the town, and eventually the town pays the first two of those are fixed costs, and then the town pays the distributor a percentage of the ticket sale, total ticket sales for the running of the film.
And that ticket sales percentage varies according to what film?
It varies, that's
yeah.
correct. Yep, it can be anywhere from 35 to 90%.
Have we ever paid 90%?
We did once on one small film. That was a special release that didn't get it. I think it had $536 worth of ticket sales, and it cost $500. And that was
because it was
one film in one week.
Yeah, okay.
But in general, the larger, the more blockbuster type films are more in the 35 to 45% range. And then that varies depending on how successful the films are nationwide. So in those 10 weeks, every week there was a film shown in the town of Monroe that was on national release that week. For the theater, we have to think a little bit differently about the time frame because new shows start on a Friday, so the week is really a Friday through a Thursday kind of operation that we do. That's how the reports are done. That's how that's why I said week 10. That's what that means. So,
What's the net?
Bottom line?
what's the net?
Yeah.
What did I tell you?
This is a presentation by the comptroller. We're doing this, again, members of the members of the town board had asked that this is generated. This is not a back and forth. This is a presentation
Right. So,
of what the revenue and expenditures are for the town.
when the town board adopted the budget for the cinemas, it was understood that expenses would exceed revenues, and that difference was going to be on the order of $140,000 in 31 weeks of the balance of this year. With $100,000 worth of revenues and $148,000 worth of expenses, you're on track to that number.
Peter, I neglected to write down the bottom line on the expenditures and revenues. Could you give me that one more time, please?
Yeah.
So $40,000.
You want it, like, if you want it to the penny, you want
No,
it,
you
we're
don't.
talking about $148,000 worth of expenses and $100,000 worth of revenues.
Now, Peter, I know that not everybody, even though 10, 11,000 ticket sales are a lot of ticket sales, and that's a lot of people that are coming into downtown Monroe, people who would probably not have been in downtown Monroe. It's also doing jobs, it's doing, it's effectively doing what even the Times Herald Record said, and that's creating an environment that hadn't existed before. That being said, are there other departments, for example, the boathouse? The boathouse takes in about $35,000 and somewhat breaks even. Maybe we lose a little, maybe we make a little, but that's roughly what it is. Do we fund any other departments? Dial-a-bus, do we lose money on that? I know that not everyone uses Dial-a-bus. Do we lose money on that service? Do we lose money on our part, or the combined village of Monroe and the town of Monroe on something like Smith Clove Park? Or do we more or less break even on something like that?
There is essentially not a single service provided by the town that turns a profit.
So,
Is this a service?
so,
Is this a service?
for instance, I know that New Windsor is in the process of purchasing a golf course. I know that
Cornwall.
there are other municipalities, Cornwall, sorry, that are in the process of purchasing golf courses. There are actually as many golf courses owned by the public and as well as compared to the private ownership. We have movie theater, and I'm trying to get the numbers for comparative purposes with the Paramount Theater to see exactly where they are. Again, here's the city of Middletown, which owns the Paramount Theater. I can tell you we're doing a heck of a lot better than them. We're bringing more commerce, we're bringing more bodies, we're bringing more money into the community than the Paramount Theater is, and Paramount Theater is a 800-seat venue, which probably fills maybe 1/10 of its seats on average during the week. I know that we're doing a much better job. We've got a long way to go. Also, the concession numbers reflect a somewhat higher degree of profitability than the average type of concession stand, even though we're not nearly as expensive as an AMC. We're just a small town. We're trying to compete in a market where the richest man in China owns the AMC theater chain, and where Chester is owned by one of the largest real estate holding companies in the Northeast. So as we start looking at a competitive model, this 11,000 tickets that have been sold, are we meeting the numbers in terms of our market share? What do we need to do to improve? Where do we need to cut? I know that one of the issues that I discussed repeatedly with management was that during the midweek, I know that some of the councilmen had spoken about maybe suspending the movies during the midweek. That I couldn't agree with more. The problem with that is that this is the industry, this is the contract that requires. So where do we wind up cutting? How do we wind up preserving, the highest level of profitability that we can? And now we're making adjustments, our management's making adjustments and scaling down our staffing needs. When you're doing 1/2, 1/3 the money during the midweek as you are during the weekend, you certainly don't need the staffing. And I appreciate the diversity in our staffing that we have here. But regardless of that, and I mentioned to the board that we are turning a corner in terms of downsizing our staffing so that it reflects Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday in particular a more reduced type of a more lean staffing model.
Or the business plan.
Okay.
Peter, I have a couple other questions. Number one is, I only have shift totals starting with July 10th. And what I've got in front of me, 4 shift totals, it's about almost 3 full weeks. 3 plus, I'm sorry, about 5 missing days. Can I get the prior shift totals from Justin?
We can do that, but we can also,
Or do you have it?
You should have it. Unless it's bookkeeping, I would think.
Here's-
No, the actual report that they send out
Here's
every
the-
day. He's only
here's
been
the-
doing that since, he and Blanc have only been doing that since July 10th.
right, the
And I've reported
question,
every one that I've received since then.
the question is, how fine, what granularity do you look at this with?
Well,
So-
it's not a case of granularity. That report tells me the number of tickets sold. It tells me the gross receipts for those tickets.
Right,
It
and
tells me the
then, so up
concession.
here, I'm trying to make it bigger so you can see it.
Peter, I think he's not looking for granularity, he's looking for just whatever the
I
previous.
said I'm trying to make it larger so you
I'm
guys
not
can
talking
see
about
it.
You're talking about granularity in what, terms of the resolution?
No, I want to be able to see on a day-to-day basis what the receipts are.
He wants to go back from opening day to the present.
Yeah.
To see,
Right.
to trend analysis, to see what our expenses are versus.
Because of the way, I think that the way this business operates, that worrying too much about day-to-day can make you crazy. But look at it.
Let me put it to you.
Well, here it is,
Here's context.
here's week by
It's the
week.
day-to-day that helps you build what the month or the week is.
Well, here's the
Without
week,
days,
but here's the week to week.
I got nothing that's consistent.
Peter, I think there's a difference, this is a stylistic difference. You and I work on this on a day-to-day basis. Back in July, whatever it was, I had emailed that these reports be sent directly on a daily basis to the town council. Is this correct, gentlemen?
And you have this.
Right. As a result, it's great when you're reporting great news, but during the week, we're reporting the news. It may not be great news when you're losing money versus you're making money on another day, but it's something which the board is, we realize it's incumbent. It's a new business, and whether or not we do it on a regular basis with the Parks and Recreation dial-a-bus or anywhere else, or any other municipality does it, because they don't do it. We are doing it, and I think I applaud the efforts of the board members to make sure that we're doing something which hasn't been done before by any municipality, but we're doing it now. So if we can supply them the dates prior from RTS, prior to my email, which the management responded, I think that's fair and reasonable. This way you guys can go build your databases and do what numbers of people do.
Right, that's all I was really asking for.
No,
From the opening until Thursday, July 9th. That's the piece I'm missing.
Okay.
And then our controller is worried because if we see these daily, we might see a Wednesday and, oh my goodness, we only sold 2 hot dogs. What's going on here? You know, but we're adults. We can read this. We can take a long view. We know what the target is for the year. So I think we can be trusted with this minute data. And we will go through it, pick it out, and it's very interesting to see how many people come to the 4:15 show or the 7:15 show. Reading that daily, you get an idea of what we're putting forward here, what works and what doesn't work. So I read the box score for the New York Yankees. I read that daily, and I don't find that a problem. I read this daily also. I think it's very important.
Mike, just wanted to answer your question. The bottom line of the revenue and expenditure numbers that we received tonight is a loss of 48. Not unexpected, but maybe you didn't hear the initial
Yeah.
numbers.
What was that, Dennis?
100 is a $48,000 deficit.
Over how many?
Currently.
Currently,
Over 10 weeks.
which is
Over
not,
10
And
which is not,
Board of loss of
I mean, we did
48,000.
anticipate that there would be.
Okay,
Is that over
a first-
10
making
weeks?
sure.
I'm sorry.
Over 10 weeks, we lost.
over 10 weeks.
That's
Over-
over 10 weeks.
Over 10 weeks.
48,000.
Now, but then you also have to take into account when you think about that. And I haven't broken it out in this chart, but we can break it out for the cinemas, is that the expenses outside of the capital expense are made up of different things. You know, like I've tried to put them for the building into broad categories: repair and maintenance, operations, legal, public information, that's Channel 22 and all of the things that we do there, which actually happens to be in this room, and fixed costs. And fixed costs include the utilities, water, sewer, electricity, and so on.
$15,000.
So, in the startup of the cinema, part of that $148,000 that we're talking about were expenses that are one-time expenses in this year. And I can delineate those better for you next week so that you can get a feeling about that. Because as you think about projecting forward, you have to say, well, all right, how much if this is what our average is per week, is it going to stay like that, or is it going to get better? How did it do on a per week basis? What were what are the fixed costs versus the variable costs, and what are the one-time things that we had to do? And that, I think we have to look at that.
But we also have to keep those expenditures under control. We have to be careful of what we're buying into. We have to limit, I hope we don't have to do another floor. That's another 14,000.
You're done.
I hope so. But the thing is that the first year is going to be your expenses is finding out your labor rates, how many people you're going to have on weekends, how many you're going to have on weekdays, films. I don't expect to see any I don't know, I hope we don't go past what we projected our losses to be the first year.
Well, you're on
I'm just-
track right now with 10 weeks. It was a 30-week projection.
Right.
So 1/3 of that.
So far. And hopefully we can stay under that projected, and hopefully get a little bit better. But, you know, I think that people's anxiety is with, okay, we made this major investment. How much more are we going to lose with this venture? And there's two things that are happening here. One, are we providing an additional service of entertainment value? Or B, are we, you know, just providing another expense? And it's going to take a while before we'll be able to prove one or the other. And I think until people start really going to the theater, it's not a question of proving anyone right or wrong, but it's a question of our community has made, our town has made this investment or this expenditure. We're going to have to make it work, because right now we have quite a bit of expense invested in this. And I think that everybody in the town has a vested interest in this. That's why you have so many people here at this meeting. We're going to have to do our best to try and make it work as best as we possibly can, to show to the people that it wasn't a complete loss.
And Harley you asked about comparisons, Harley. I don't have the dial-a-bus, but I do have the park and recreation.
And what were those?
And starting with, I thought it fair to say starting in 2012, because that's basically when you started talking about the purchase of this building. And since 2012, in this graph shows the capital money that's been spent, and these are totals that we're looking at. So
Right.
you look at 2013, the total amount of capital items that have been spent is just short of $600,000. And the total budget from 2013, 14, and 15, total budget spent is $654,000. By contrast, the town of Monroe and the village of Monroe each spend $300,000 a year in Smith's Clove Park to support, because it's the largest service supplied in the community. And in that period of time, the total amount spent there is just slightly under $2.5 million.
Peter, let me ask you, and you're pretty sophisticated with these numbers. For example, we bought the cameras and this and that, and it's a non-recurring charge.
That's right.
If you were to take with Smith Clove, for instance, they had, and maybe somebody could correct me, I thought that they had made a motion to accept or to start putting in bleachers, and the bleachers were roughly in the area of $400,000.
They're looking at that.
They're looking at that. So for that given year that those bleachers are going to be put in, you're going to be looking at a big additional cost, $400,000 for bleachers, or
Okay, but
people
that-
say, are you
that one
crazy?
year.
But it's needed. People need to sit somewhere.
Right. This brings back a point that Dennis and I have discussed with you in the past about the differences of capital, of budget, and in terms of capital money or fund balance can be accumulated basically from two different ways. Fund balance comes from when at the end of the year you look at your total expenses, you look at your total revenues. If that's net positive, that money goes into fund balance. So fund balance can be raised because you over budgeted or underspent or were lucky or however it happened, but it can be there because your revenues were greater than your expenses. So there's a net positive that goes into the fund balance. You can also have, and so for something like the park is funded only through the contributions from the village and the town, and then whatever they collect in fees.
And who
So-
funds,
So now,
who
but,
funds this A fund, this theater? Who funds that?
well, that's what I'm gonna get to. Now, in the funding of the theater, or of TMAC, it's in the A fund. And so how did A fund develop fund balance? Well, A fund developed fund balance in the 90s when we had a real estate boom. And in the town of Monroe, when we had the real estate boom, the town board at the time didn't just use up all the money that was collected. It was more than anticipated in the budget. And that money was saved. That went to fund balance. So the fund balance in the A fund was accumulated not because there was over budgeting, or not because you got lucky, or not because just revenues and expenses turned out that it was net positive. That money was a legacy that came to this community through the housing bubble. Now, if you want to say, was there anything good we got out of the housing bubble? What the good that this community received out of the housing bubble was that we have cash in the bank that we didn't spend. So it's there to do things for the community. And there are a lot of things that could be done if there was you could have a discussion about other issues you might like to do. But it didn't come from, it's not taxpayer dollars that built the A fund fund balance.
All right, Peter, it's all right with you. I'm going to, and I should have, and I apologize. I received from the comptroller a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't forward to you. It's going to show exactly the four municipalities: Cary, Joel, the Village of Monroe, the Village of Harriman, and the Town of Monroe, the unincorporated part. And it shows exactly how much money's in the bank. And I think at the next town board meeting, people will get a chance to see how little some of these municipalities are, how much money they owe, and where the town of Monroe stands in the pecking order in terms of not only fiscal responsibility, but moreover, money in the bank compared to everybody else. Our indebtedness is so low compared to everyone. And that's a good thing because, again, I'm asking you the same question. The A fund contributes for, let's say, for this theater, who? In the case of Smith Lowe, that obligation is strictly the unincorporated part of the town of Monroe on the B fund, as well as the Village of Monroe. This theater, who's paying for this theater, who's paying for Dial-A-Bus, who's paying for the boathouse, who's paying for the other expenditures within the A fund?
Those are all townwide expenses.
And who pays for them?
Townwide, everyone.
Which includes who?
KJ.
Village of
Does it
KJ,
include the Village of Monroe?
and the Village of Monroe, and the Village of Harriman.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you. That being said,
Peter, you can, we got some small items, but I mean, this is the nitty gritty. There's areas for growth. For instance, a certain number of people come to the theater. That should grow. You know, if people have a good experience and they found out where it is, we should be getting more moviegoers in the future. Also, we've made arrangements with Yak and other camps to come. So on a Monday morning, we might get 100 or so children from Yak at $5 each, plus whatever they spend at the concession stand. And that's Monday morning when there's nothing else going on. So, and that we've had about 3 or 4 or 5 of those. But that's a great growth potential there. That could expand, over the years. And also, we've set up we've had a very first party celebration, somebody's birthday, and it had 19 people come. It was $14, included a movie, a popcorn soda, and a hot dog. They had the upstairs, and it was a rented movie from Swank, which cost us $75, and we made $300 or $400 on it. So
ladies and gentlemen, would you keep your voices down? And we'll accord the same consideration when you come up and
I
speak.
understand the audience is excited when I start talking about birthday parties, but here's an opportunity for growth. I mean, everybody in town has a birthday, so there's a possibility that we might have 1 or 2 of these a week, which would be wonderful. Might be 5 a week, but there is potential for growing the revenue, which we want, and any area we see where we can reduce the expenses, we'll do that. So this is ongoing. We're looking at these numbers daily, and we're as anxious as you are about the numbers. We want this thing.
I'm sorry, Mr. Burke.
Yes.
I can't even hear what you're saying. Can everyone just please relax for a minute?
Excuse me?
I understand that you guys have a whole way of doing things from before I got here. And I'm new to this, and I do understand that, but it's just rude. The man is speaking, and when you speak, people don't talk over you. So please, everyone, please,
Ladies and gentlemen,
Please.
we will wind up
please.
controlling the volume of our voices so that the people who are speaking can be heard. If not, then we will just take a recess for a couple of minutes, recompose ourselves, and then we'll move forward, which it's certainly in the control of all of us. So may I recommend that we just have the decency and the civility that we expect from one another. And Mr. Burke, please continue.
Now I forgot what I was talking about.
Birthday parties. Birthday parties.
That being said,
Birthday parties, okay, so there's a chance for growth there. But anyway, you heard this, we're working on it, we're diligent about this, we're as anxious as you are to make sure that the numbers work. And we're going to keep recording them. Somebody was talking about having a committee, and I reacted negatively because I thought some people on the committee were looking for the theater to fail. But I mean, if that committee idea comes up again, I think I would support it. But anyway, thank you very much.
we have a request.
And thank you, Counselor.
We have a request from the town clerk as well as the supervisor. This is for an educational request for an Alexandria Travato. She's
Excuse me, didn't you just go over the?
Wait, no, okay, I'll come back to that. Alexandria Travato to attend the training up in Albany. It's actually a little north of Albany for the BAS system. That would include the training for the website on the 3 parts. One would be for channel 22, all of that to be able to provide the streaming, those elements to be able to enhance the viewership. It would be to integrate more effectively the government end of it, which is the one of the 3 components, and then the other one would be to house the social media as well as the website for the Town Monroe Arts and Civic Center. These are 3 distinct areas. They share some things in common in terms of web programming, but there are certain parts of the training that really are better done, not online, which has been done before, but to take a more of a hands-on approach. This way, those issues of streaming, the part of the some of the Adobe-like programs that are used that are proprietary to BAS, Ms. Travato will be able to learn them rather than us relying on somebody else. It's a request for $1,000 for the training in Albany. I believe it's 1 day or 2 days. It's at $125 per hour. That may include another member of the, another employee of the town, but it is at this point for Alexandria Travato. We get somebody that can wind up attending the training. There's no additional cost, but it means that we have another person that will be cross-trained in something especially as critical as the website, and in this case, the 3 components of the website. The government end, the Channel 22 end, the government streaming end, as well as the website for the Town of Monroe Art and Civic Center. I need a motion for just the purpose of discussion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
And gentlemen, is there any discussion or further explanation?
Is this in the town clerk's budget?
You know what, I don't know. Alexandria, you're here. Is it in the budget? Okay.
Good.
That being said, gentlemen, call the question.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, I'm going to back up to the C. Highway Department authorized purchase of a Super Duty pickup truck for $31,000. We do not have enough information to go on. To go on this. It's something which is subject to purchasing procedure that,
It was under the $35,000. And they did go out, they did solicit bids for the truck. I haven't seen them.
I haven't seen it either. I requested, I haven't seen it yet. Therefore, we can hold this over to Monday.
Well,
And,
and just to inform you, because Dennis is going to ask the question right away, is this in the budget? And the answer is no. So if you buy this truck, there are two ways that you buy the truck. I would not recommend that we borrow money to pay for a $31,000 truck. That's one way, and the other is that you appropriate DB fund balance to pay for the truck. So those are your, as you mull this over, those are the two ways that you're going to pay for it.
okay. I know that there was a request, it's not here, but it was a request for a couple of $100,000 worth of additional equipment. I would recommend that the highway superintendent perhaps revisits that request, put a little bit more, a little bit more information so that we can at least present it to the board, because at this point, it's not meeting the standards that we need to be able to make a motion accordingly. We have for the approval for the Town of Monroe 2016 budget scheduling and town meeting for the remainder of 2015. Gentlemen, if you want to do that, otherwise we can just do this on a week-by-week basis.
No.
This is really something which it had more to do with the village of Monroe and the town of Monroe to be able to come to a level-headed understanding as to what this was, and that the meetings here are designed to help increase the communication between the public. These screens that you see, again, we're working on it. It'll get more dynamic and then more fluid as each meeting progresses. We have a document scanner so that in the cases of the planning board and the zoning board, they'll be able to show their larger media more effectively, so that people can see what the consultants and what the attorneys and what the members of those two boards are looking at. Now the public will be able to see it, not only on screen at home, but they'll certainly be able to see it in their seats over here. So it's something, if you want to consider it, otherwise move it on, and we can just do it on a week-to-week basis.
I would say, I'd be happy to make a motion to, pass this tonight. The schedule should be out.
The schedule for the budget meeting, folks.
Yeah,
That,
schedule.
we need to do that. There are some dates in here that are required by state law that we
Yeah.
need, so
And
I would encourage you to adopt the budget.
We can adopt it, we can always make changes
Schedule.
if need be.
Right, and the other thing is, we're planning that the budget, I know that there is not another municipality in Orange County that televises its budget, but the budget will be televised this year. The budget is something which is pretty dry and sundry, but we'll be the only ones. But we encourage the village of Kiris-Joel to give it a shot. We invite the village. Well, we invite the village of Harriman, and we invite the village of Monroe to do it. So all three of them who have gotten money to be able to broadcast, we ask you, we're not asking for any money, but we give us the opportunity to be able to fulfill your obligation, to be able to broadcast to your community the same way we're broadcasting to ours. That being said, if you want to, we have the motion, we have a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, the budget meetings start at 7 instead of 7:30, so I try to remember that. And the budget meetings are open to the public. If you want to come, you could probably find out ahead of time which departments will be there that particular night, and you could come. It's usually a very small crowd. We get 1 or 2 people come, but if it's something you're interested in, come to the budget meeting, because that's where decisions are made going forward, and you'd be welcome.
And they'll be televised?
They'll be televised, yeah.
Good, being television at its best. But, no, I think it's a good idea to have it televised as well.
And again, we invite the 3 municipalities, and we invite Steve Newhouse, to do the same. I really appreciate everyone taking shots at the town of Monroe and doing what they can do to disengage once they point their fingers, but it would be wonderful in the 17 months that we've been here. talking about certain things. Not one elected official has had the decency, the courage, or the simple thought to make a phone call and find out what's going on here. So this is an opportunity for them to do the same. They can hold their meetings here as well. We had one for the IDA, and that was for a piece of property for a parochial school that needed to get funded for a couple $1 million. We hosted it right here. It was the first time. It was the first time that the IDA ever had an event televised. So it may have been unusual for them, perhaps uncomfortable for them, but this is the new way that this theater, Studio 6, is going to provide every possibility for government, not only in the town of Monroe, but for those others who may have a reason or an excuse not to televise, to now televise. So that being said, can I call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have on Water District 12, there was, Peter, this is an incident which took place on, no, I'm sorry, that's for 10. Just as a little bit of backup, we had in Water District 8, we had a cessation of the water for some of the homeowners
Over the
there.
weekend.
Over the weekend. It was uncomfortable for them. It was a problem for us. We were called in the morning, Saturday morning. The issue is probably multifold. However, corrective steps were taken. They are only temporary, but they are corrective steps, and that was done within 2 hours from when I got there, even though it had occurred for a little bit more time, and I apologize for that. But the folks from the water department, Peter was there for a number of hours. I was, Rick Beams was as well, and the problem was corrected temporarily while we wind up trying to figure out some of the mechanisms that failed and why they failed. This is a reasonably new system, but it was became problematic this past weekend and on some previous occasions. I think we know some of the issues that are being addressed, but some of them are a little bit more cryptic, and obviously the people that do this work are trying to decode the problem. That's for Water District 8. For Water District 12, is Mary here? We are trying to find a way of being able to provide the grants. I know that Dan had spoken with Mary on a couple of occasions about this. If Dan or Peter wants to update the public on this? Okay.
Can I update you?
Mary, yeah, come down. And Mary Bingham is probably more versed, and I know that she's been in town hall asking for. And Mary, I know that you've been in town hall a number of times this week and last week, and rather than request you foiling the paperwork, I know that I've given instructions to Christine to supply you with whatever you need, because the FOIL process sometimes is a lengthy process, even with Mary Ellen doing things as quickly as she possibly can. This is your water district, and we didn't want to encumber what you needed in any way, so I gave the green light for you to be able to have access to the information, and hopefully you got what you needed. If you need more.
No, I didn't get it yet. We're working on it. But one of the things was back in March.
Because Christine had said that you were with her working on getting files on things.
Yeah, still haven't gotten some of the stuff, but we're working on it.
But did you get some of the stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. One of the things that I started with was back in March, I had requested a income survey. To date, that has not been done yet. Reason why I asked for that back in March was because the Orange County Community Development Block Grants had very specific timelines, starting from April 1st, where the municipal applications were supposedly mailed to supervisors and mayors of all the municipalities in Orange County. And, if we would have had that income survey, we could have put an application in, but we didn't. So one of the things I'm still pursuing is to have that income survey done. One of the neighbors had said they read something in the Times Herald Record that there was monies available. New York State was having like $50 million available for programs. So I wrote to a Mr. Montasacco at the New York State Department of Health. And he wrote some emails, which should be in your packet, and Mr. Montasacco said, I will reach out to the town board as well. They have a meeting on April 10th. Oh, excuse me, that was what I wrote to him, that I would reach out, so that's why I'm here tonight. He wrote, it is up to the town as to when projects move forward in financing through the DWSRF program, since it is a voluntary loan program. Currently, the town is eligible for a subsidized interest rate financing for out to 30 years, where our DWSRF program will subsidize the market rate by 33.3%. It is also up to the town to apply for funding through the New York State Water Grant Program, and we cannot say at this time that the project will qualify for grant funds through that program for this round, as we do not know the status of the project with respect to readiness to move forward. We will reach out to the town, this is what he is saying, we will reach out to the town to discuss the project and determine if a reevaluation of the priority ranking is warranted, if any other revisions need to be made, or if they are in a position to apply and compete for the New York Water Grants Program for this project. Back when Al Fusco was town engineer, he applied to the state, and there is a program. It's called the Intended Use Plan Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. We are project number 15669, Monroe Water District 12, upgrade water ground source, upgrade pump stations, upgrade distribution systems. Projected cost was $1,250,000, and they were giving all these project scores. We had a ranking of 125. This should be revised, in my feeling, because, you know, we can't have below ground tanks anymore. We are going to have more expenses. It's a small water district, approximately 40 homes, and the cost to each individual homeowner is getting to be very burdensome. And, you know, if money's available, we really need to do an income survey. We really need to reach out to the state. There is this application pending before them. It needs to be revised, it needs to be upgraded, and, you know, you have to start working on this more diligently, in my feeling. So that's where it started. You know, I did all this in like 2 days to contact the state, research the Times Herald Record article. So I've got the contact names and numbers, so if you would follow up on it. I'd like another resolution passed, and I'd like to know who's going to follow up on this.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks. We have the approval for the supervisor to sign the new background checks for applicants. There is a reduction in the, there's been a slight reduction from the company we use. I don't think we need to, counsel, the name of the company that we use for background and credit checks? Okay. We will put that off if the board doesn't have a problem to discuss it, then we can come out under attorney-client. It's the signing agreement with the folks that provide our background checks. We have a request from the from Ben Maldonado, the building inspector. It is request for education request for New York State and Code Enforcement Officer. It is in the budget. It is in the amount, it's for 6 hours, in the amount of $50 per person, and is solely for Mr. Maldonado. Need a motion for that?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Any discussion? Second?
Building.
Sorry, did I get a second? I was reading something.
No second yet.
Need a second for it?
I'll give you a second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, just if we hire a assistant building inspector, the last one resigned, so we're going to have to replace him. We might have to send them to the same class, so let's remember that, okay?
Didn't you just go to some classes?
Ben's
Not
going,
too long ago? He's
Building
been going
goes to a lot of classes.
I know.
And this is December 18th, so.
Not compost.
We can, compost, okay. Okay. Well, we'll deal with that, okay?
Seems to be every other month.
There are mandated,
They're right there,
he
man.
has to collect a certain number of hours per year.
I'm sure he's collecting every time.
Otherwise, he can't be a building inspector.
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have a approval for this supervisor to sign a professional agreement with public sector HR. That is something which was overdue. It is our annual agreement with public sector HR, which handles our personnel. That is a contract employee. I think it had expired and we've been going on a month-to-month basis. This came to me just the other day. Gentlemen, you want to have time to review it. I don't think that public sector has a problem. We had them for the last, Peter, 15 years?
Yeah.
At least. But if you want, because it just came to us, I would recommend that maybe you wind up holding off on it until then, until you have a chance to read it, okay?
Try to get it on Monday's agenda.
We'll replace it for Monday's agenda then. We have a request to approve the public safety officer.
That's been cut from the agenda.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's been cut? Okay. And I think then there's one last issue before we go to the privilege of the floor. Many of you folks are aware of an institution called Eitz Heim. Eitz Heim had been over by Route 105 a number of years ago. They sold the property and they built a magnificent synagogue. That synagogue, like many other places, became subject to changes in their membership, and as a result, it was placed up for sale a while back. I know that I had commented both in the paper and publicly that I thought it was a magnificent piece of property, and that it would be worthy of consideration by the town board to think of it as an opportunity. The property was in contract. The property is no longer in contract for whatever reason, and it is now available again. However, I would like this opportunity for the public to be able to have the unusual opportunity to be able to comment on the possible acquisition of the property, the pluses and the minuses. This is the purpose of this is when you look at the property, you see exactly how large it is. When you go into it, you see how many opportunities there are. When you look at the relative flatness of the property, you can envision how some of the issues of having a ball field, a soccer field, a utility field is right within your grasp. It is a large parcel, and in addition, the adjoining parcel, which is owned by a gentleman named Jonah Mandelbaum, who is I'll use the word, the godfather of senior housing projects. He is the absolute best in the business. He owns that property, and he was amenable to be able to produce in conjunction with the town of Monroe, or in the case, the village of Monroe, senior citizen housing. So there are a variety of reasons why the town might want to entertain the purchase of it. However, even though it's the tradition of municipalities to negotiate real estate, whether it's the library doing it, or the village of Monroe, or the town of Monroe, or virtually any municipality in New York State, maintaining that privilege of privacy in the negotiation process, this is one which has been pretty much open to the public's discussion for quite some time. I don't think that there would be any problem in having a public hearing or hearings to be able to look at that property, to be able to have the public offer their opinions and solutions and see whether or not that is the perfect kind of a fit that we would want for not only as a town hall, a court, but all of the other types of functions that government needs and needs at this point. But moreover, how does it best serve the community? Can we put the playing fields that we need in? Do we need some type of alternative housing for seniors that New York State and many other communities outside of the state seem to be plagued with? Senior housing is something which we all talk about, but very seldom is it done. And this property may well, because of the infrastructure is there in terms of sewer and water and municipal sewer from Orange County Sewer District 1, as well as municipal water from from the village of Monroe. It's the perfect, perhaps the perfect way of being able to find solutions to multiple problems. So I would ask the board to consider having a public hearing to discuss the possible purchase of the Aitzheim property. That would be held here. Obviously would invite members of the congregation and anyone else, but it would be open to the public, and we could wind up with perhaps one heck of a dialogue about the future of that building and whether or not it's going to be a perfect fit within for the town residents. So, gentlemen, it would be a motion. I leave it to you.
I'll open up that motion. I want there to be public opinion. For or against, I don't care, as long as there's public opinion and public voices what they want us to do at this point.
Sure, I'll second it, sure.
And for discussion?
We've been to the building, actually, we toured it, and it's magnificent. There's a room there that would, not this size, but where you could have town board meetings there. I think everybody who's been to the library when it was located in that building has a good idea of the size of it, the parking, the location. It would make a nice town hall. Maybe the price is a little, more, but I think what we should do is have that hearing, let everybody come, get as much detail out as possible, and let's hear what people have to say. Because a purchase like that would have to be, it's not going to be within 5 years. We're going to have to bond it over 20 years probably. And we would need a public referendum. So we would need the public to vote for it in order to do it. So let's see if we want to do it. Let's hear what the public has to say.
I think the prior board took a lot of heat for its purchase of the movie theater without any public input. And to a degree, that was a little bit of a different situation because that was a piece of property that was up for bid. But nevertheless, I think this is a great property. I know we've talked about it before. There are some organizations who thought it would be a good idea at the time. I think it's a great idea to have that the supervisors offered the opportunity to have this as a public hearing before it even gets to the point where we would agree to purchase it. So,
And there will have to be a referendum on this. I'm sorry? I would be in favor of some kind of a referendum in the ultimate, but first things first, let's have the dialogue before we even go any further.
Gentlemen, that being said, call the question, and this is to authorize the, we can set a date. What, you want to set a date now?
Sure.
Set a date.
Everybody's here, sure.
I spoke with Councilman McQuaid briefly about this, and he gave his support as well. He just wanted to, the public to know that he supported it, and it's a pretty good opportunity. And we'll see how it goes. It's certainly going to generate a lot of input, and we'll start being able to crunch the numbers, see exactly what it'll cost the town over, Peter, you had mentioned, what, 20 years? We
15
have,
or 20, it would depend on the construction.
and it might be an opportunity for, if Aitzheim would like to, perhaps they can provide, or we could help provide, some kind of a video that we could wind up streaming into 22 so the public could see, and for those people who don't get 22, we'll try to find alternative ways to be able to inform them. We have, today is the 10th, we have a town board meeting next week. If you'd like to do it sometime in the middle of next week, if you think that's enough time, on the 20th, 21st.
What day of the week?
It would be Thursday, I'm looking at Thursday, no, I'm sorry. Someone help me out here, Peter.
Thursday the 20th?
August 20th, Thursday, August 20th, here at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, why not 7:30?
You want to do 7:30? We can do it on the 19th, 18th, 19th, 20th. Those are the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. We have a town board meeting that Monday. And again, it'll give the folks over at the Aitzheim an indication as well whether or not there is that support or the nascent support for them to be able to think that maybe this is something which the townspeople will sign on to and the board can wind up executing. Does that work for everyone, 18th, 19th, 20th?
Yeah.
Yes, works for me.
The 19th is a council action.
Yeah, so the 20th, we're looking at this one.
19th, Scott, 20th?
I like the 20th.
20th? 20th?
20.
20th? 7:30 here? Okay.
Great, sounds good.
We need a motion to hold a public hearing for the discussion of the purchase of the property 8 Time on Orange Turnpike to be held at 7:30 on August 20th, 2015. Alex, would you make sure that that's, if it's passed, make sure that it's published? Call the question?
I'll make the motion.
Make the motion, I'm sorry.
Second.
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Question, maybe we can do also a video of the inside and the outside?
Yeah. And that would be if
Put on YouTube as well, or
Right.
maybe on even the town website.
and if 8 Time is willing to provide that, the time, I think we certainly have the resources to be able to do it. It's a question of making sure that it's distributed across the broadest media that we can, so that everyone in the town has a chance to be able to not only see what's going on, but if they want to, they can submit questions in writing, they can submit emails, and obviously they can attend the board meeting if they want to discuss it.
Why not hold it there?
Hmm?
Why not hold the meeting there?
No, you can't.
Why?
Okay?
We don't own it.
Ooh, if you're interested.
No, we can't. We can't.
Ladies and gentlemen, that being said, I thank you for that, board members. We're going to open up the privilege of the floor. Remember, this is an opportunity for members of the public to raise concerns before the board that are on the agenda. As is the courtesy to everyone who would like to address the town board, each person has to keep his or her comments to 3 minutes. If more than one person wants to speak about the same subject, it is requested that the spokesperson be appointed. That I don't think we've ever complied with. Public comment is limited to Monroe residents or property owners only. The public comment period will be for a maximum of 60 minutes. Surely the board does not take action on the matters raised during this time, but will set the matter over to the next meeting if applicable. Agenda items should be in writing and sent to the town supervisor's office 2 weeks prior to the requested date of the town board meeting. That being said, well, let's give since this is new.
It's new, you
a
want
couple
to
things
explain
that-
how they're going to do
Right,
it?
how, rather than people coming down, you can see there's no podium, and because we have a stadium seating kind of environment, we'll be coming to you. We'll have somebody, we have a gentleman in the back. If you remember some of the shows, news shows, etc., we'll have a person with the microphone there, and we'll be working it that way. This way you'll be more comfortable, you'll be able to, you're in familiar territory, your own world, and we'll have the opportunity to be able to speak. Please, ladies and gentlemen, please, George is in the other room. He'll be giving you the 30-second advance so that you can do your summary, and we'll see how this works. This should be a nice, effective way of being able to feel comfortable and without having to deal with some of the back and forth movements and stuff. So, do we have the first person?
Matt Owender?
Matt? Matt?
How you doing? Matt Hollinger, Village of Monroe. Matt Hollinger, Village of Monroe. My first question is for the town attorney. You don't live in Monroe, right?
Correct.
Okay. You don't have to respond. You can respond at the end. You know, I got a little incensed when you like chastise the public. You don't understand the effect that this theater has had on the populace. As we're here, we're in a new environment now. Most of us said we wouldn't even come in this theater, and now we're forced to come here at the meetings. You know, I understand you're the third attorney in like a year, so I didn't like being chastised by you. Usually when I get mad, I'll yell something out. I don't know how the acoustics are in here for you, but up here we can hear everything. And at least in the other building, I can self-exit myself out of the building. But that's enough of that. The other question I had was about a month and a half ago, the town supervisor said somebody accused him of spending a lot of time in the movie theater and not doing his job. And he said I was here counting candy or something like that. My question is, you know, as an ethical thing, is if the town supervisor's here, he probably has legitimate business to come to the theater, but he should sign in a log, or any of the town council people should sign a log at the manager's office, so we have an accounting of how much time they're spending in the movie theater. You know, I'm on the ethics board, which is kind of defunct because it never got together. But as an ethical question, I brought up the thing with the Tahoe, that it should be labeled, but that has like a magnet sticker on it that can be taken on and off. I suggested a logbook for that. At least with the theater, we could FOIA that request and see how much time that the the town supervisor or other council members are spending in the theater? Are they coming here to watch movies? You know, we paid $2 million for this theater. I don't know if we're giving away free movies. I did purchase popcorn when I came in, I'll admit it. It was overdone, and it was only $3 because it was taxpayer subsidized, so I appreciate that. As to the, I was actually one of the people that brought up the thing about the synagogue on Orange Turnpike. Dr. Pisano was the original one that said, I was all for it when the theater wasn't open. I said we were going to say, like, sell the theater, sell the current town hall, which is full of mold, and sell the courthouse and move all those buildings in there, so all the capital you gain from the sale of those 3 properties could be used to purchase the new building, and you can hold the town halls, you can turn it into a cultural center. I'm sure it's big enough. So you don't even have to operate this place anymore. You'll have the room in the new place. The public gets what they want is the sale of the movie theater, and you know, you'll be able to sell the town hall, you'll be able to sell the court building, and produce capital to purchase that new building. Thank you.
The next speaker is?
Susan Pendergast.
Hi. I have a real concern with the duck and swan boats in Round Lake. I live in Round Lake Park. About 2 weeks ago, a boat with a husband and wife, I think it was a swan boat, came towards our swimming area. Now, we pay dues, we have a lifeguard. They were told to stay away from our swimming area. It was windy, the woman was steering the paddle boat, the man was sitting and not helping. She could not control the boat went over our flotation devices. They were, the lifeguard at this point and the president of our association's wife was calling out to the husband saying, help her, help your wife. She ended up hitting our dock. Now, we have kids that swim within the swimming area. We pay a lifeguard to supervise the people that in our association and the people in our neighborhood. Instead, they're spending their time trying to get the other people out of our swimming area. Now, after that happened, the president's wife went over across the lake and spoke with somebody over there. The woman and her husband got there. She was exhausted and apologetic and saying that she could not control the boat, that she didn't realize it was going to be that hard. In the meantime, somebody could have really gotten hurt. I'd like to know, as far as insurance-wise, if they had crashed into the dock, if someone had gotten hurt, who's going to be sued? Is it going to be our lake association? Is it, and not only that, but I mean, somebody could have really gotten hurt. Then last week, I was down at the lake, and there, first of all, we have people in the paddle boats that come and they park beyond the rope, beyond the dock, and just stay there and watch us. That, I feel, is very annoying because we're just trying to enjoy our time at the beach. But then there was a boat with, I think, 3 young men that came, and this was a duck boat. I have pictures on my phone, and they started to come near the close to the shore, and they were told by our lifeguard, who is supposed to be watching the other people that are swimming in the lake. She's saying to them, leave our swimming area. You need to be away. They came closer and closer, and then they got stuck. They actually got stuck in the sand right by our beach.
30 seconds.
Okay, I'm sorry. They didn't want to get out of the boat to get their shoes wet. Finally, a woman from our beach went over and pushed the duck boat out. This has got to stop. Somebody's going to get hurt. And another thing, too, is they are on the other side. There was one day that there was lightning and thunder. Can I have one more minute, please? Thunder and lightning. Now, what is going to happen? These boats move so slowly. I was a lifeguard for many years. I don't know what's going to happen if ever they're all the way on the other side, we get a storm, thunder and lightning. How in the world are they going to get back to safety?
Thank you.
It's terrible.
Veronica Calmes.
Good evening, everybody. The first thing I'd like to ask, which I never seem to get an answer to, is why the dog shelter is not advertised in the Times Herald Record. I've asked it 4 or 5 times. I'm always told they'll get back to me. But if you want to adopt out dogs, you're missing the boat. You've got a whole county that gets the newspaper. Putting it on your website is fine, but it's not going to get the same response as putting it in the local newspaper, especially since it's free. Secondly, as far as the theater goes, Peter, maybe you could just answer a quick question for me on this. Is the Downing Theater part of the expenses already, part of that 148, their contract?
Part of procurement.
Okay, fine. But the other thing is, which you really should do, is also a cash flow analysis, because if you purchase this theater for $800,000, even though it was bonded, you're going to pay it back over, let's say, a 10-year period.
It was not bonded.
So how is it being paid down?
We're not going to, so Peter,
Sorry.
Mr. Collins,
Okay.
again, and we appreciate it. Please, if you have questions that you would like answered, please submit them in writing, and I'm sure that the comptroller would be more than happy to be able to give you an answer on that, okay? But go ahead.
Okay, as far as the repairs and maintenance go, looking at your chart, it was approximately $500,000 worth of repairs and maintenance. Now, I realize that's not part of the operating expenses, but nevertheless, even all this equipment, it's got to be capitalized, and it's depreciation. So it is a loss. No one's accounting for that in your numbers. And at $4,800 over 10 weeks, you're going to lose $250,000 over the first year. And this is not a service. This is a business.
Next speaker.
Veronica Connolly.
Hi. Really interesting. Councilman, while I can appreciate exactly what you said, and typically when I've attended a village board meeting, none of these calling outs or such occur. But as you said, you are not a resident here. You haven't been to these town meetings for the last 3 years when we feel that our representation that sits up at that board does not represent us. We are a frustrated community. We are disrespected on a daily basis by our community leaders. We are frightened for our homes and our children. We're discouraged over what is happening in our town. So yes, may it to you seem rude, it's not rude. It's true emotion and feeling of what we feel about this movie theater and what's happening with an annexation that threatens this entire county. With that being said, I would like to know the position of the board, specifically the supervisor, if town employees, when being questioned by private citizens, do they encourage their employees to use taunts of mental illness as a way to incite some sort of argument or disruption? From the last incidents when I was here at the last town board meeting, Mr. Dole specifically, I saw you sitting there with a glib expression on your face in regards to...
If you have a, excuse me.
I did have a question.
I'm going to interrupt you. Again, this is not, this is something not on the agenda. Please deal with issues on the agenda. If you have a complaint, please file the complaint with the town, and it'll be met with and dealt with accordingly. Please continue.
Okay, so I'm asking, we're talking about candor and how people are acting at town board meetings, correct? The councilman brought it up, so I'm addressing that to a previous meeting when the town secretary of the planning board used derogatory comments of mental illness towards another private citizen of this community. Do you condone those actions, sir?
Ma'am, again, you're here to be able to, we're not going to respond to you, however, we are going to listen to you.
Okay, good, so then stop the interruption and just listen, it's very simple.
You had asked the question, we're responding, please continue.
Again, I would like to know if the town board condones the actions of Kate Triano, the planning board secretary, using mental illness as a taunt to incite an argument against private citizens. If we're talking about candor and the way one should act at a public meeting, I would like to know if you condone that action. Whether you answer that now or later is entirely up to you. Thank you. Moving on.
30 seconds.
It's interesting to see that we're spending so much money in this theater, but there are people that live in this town that don't have adequate water supply. That is a sad, sad day. But you're spending money on signs and promoting this now loss of revenue for the townspeople. You talked about how you're charging now the children from YAC, whose parents have already paid for their children to go to YAC, when previous years, the movies were never charged for as a field trip for the children of YAC, but you're charging $5. Why?
John Allegro.
While I was listening to Dr. Martin give the, whatever that was, report about the theater, I took the opportunity to take advantage of the Wi-Fi here and look up the definition of the word boondoggle. That is work or activity that is wasteful or pointless, but gives the appearance of having value. And that's exactly what we have here, and it's exactly what you're trying to sell us. As somebody who has owned businesses in the past, and I think I can speak for some other people here as well who've owned businesses, I want to reiterate what Roy was saying. It's really insulting to sit here and listen to you tell us that the theater is only losing $48,000 over the amount of time that it's been open. You're not counting maintenance and repair. You're not counting a line item there that is called operations. You're not counting the line item that was public information and equipment. And you're not counting the debt service, or otherwise known as rent. You don't operate a business in thin air, folks. You're not going to show movies while floating around in the ether. You need a building, you need these four walls. If I'm going to open a business, I don't know, Johnny's Hot Dogs or something like that, I'm going to have to rent a building, I'm going to have to pay for all of the other, all of those other expenses for equipment that's going to degrade, and I'm going to have to replace it for operations, and I'm going to have to pay my rent. I mean, it's a joke. It's ridiculous. And by the way, utilities such as electric and water are not fixed expenses. No, they're not. They're not fixed. They changed. I see you smirking over there. Why don't you answer?
Mr. Allegro, please.
No, he's responding to me.
Mr. Allegro.
He's responding to me.
Mr. Allegro,
He's
please.
responding to me. He's going to make a face at me. He's responding to me. All right? Electric is not fixed. Water is not fixed. The more people who come into the theater, the more times the toilet gets flushed.
Michael.
Yeah, it's a variable. Thank you.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Gillespie.
Thank you. I hope that the compact posting law will not take as much time as the tree code, which we still don't have, shows up on the town board. And I'd also like to know what's going on with the solar farm. I spoke to some guys from the IBEW this morning and asked them if they were going to be wiring that, and they said they heard nothing about it. This is the local group that the contractor said was going to be doing it, and so far nothing has been done. A question on the revenue from the film festival, those tickets. How is that going to be accounted for? How much do we get from the sale of the $15 and $30 ticket items that they're going to be selling? And the last thing is, I think it would be a great idea to look at Eitskayam. There also happens to be a property right next to it, which is for sale. There's a couple of acres, I believe. It's a ranch house that's been empty for a while. That would give you plenty of room to do a lot of things in this town. Thank you.
You don't have to go too far. Ward Brower, private citizen. Don't particularly care for this venue we have now for speaking.
It disenfranchises those who sit up front because we have to crane our neck to look back to see who's speaking. It's a little awkward. I prefer if you just walk up like we did before, and I think we'd be more productive. Again, I'm curious to know what's the time frame on tree code. I haven't heard anything. I know some of our guys haven't done much either, but I haven't heard any input from the attorney either. And then the composting resolution, that was a sample I gave 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was hoping that someone would modify it, bring it up to our specifications, but I see that nothing has happened, so I would appreciate if Dennis or someone would do that. And then public concerns, no one's been talking about this. 2 years ago, there was an election and no one talked about it, none of the 3 supervisors. The results were public concerns became diminished. Our First Amendment rights were severely restricted. We did have something that wasn't restricted, comment period, not restricted to the agenda. And I believe if you're a citizen in this country, you ought to be able to comment on just about anything, to be rude.
Jeff Manson.
Works for me. All right. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Martin for his presentation tonight. We've been asking for some numbers, some figures, going back to when we were just talking about projections, and now we have 10 weeks of actual data. Some things about that. So, first, we're looking at numbers primarily as percentages of the total revenue and percentages of cost, which are really only meaningful as percentages. Listen, I'm a banker. If I was lending to you, I'd want to know, okay, 42% on payroll. How does that fit in with the rest of this industry? How does that, generally speaking, does it cost the theater 25% on payroll? Does it, as an industry standard, does it cost 50%? You know, the percentages are just sort of less meaningful. I'd really like to see, and again, I appreciate that numbers are being provided at all, a profit and loss statement where we can really see by line where the money's coming from, where it's all going to. That's what's really going to help us here understand what's going on. You bring up 2 things, a comparison between the movie theater and other services that are provided by the town, and you talk about, well, nothing that government really does makes a profit, and I could talk about that all night, but I only have 3 minutes. But, and that's at the federal level and the local level. My concern is, like if you compare to Smith Clove Park, let's say, one of the differences is, there's no one really out there debating whether Smith Clove Park is a valuable thing for our town. You know, for different people have kids or, you know, neighbors involved in sports and it's a good thing for the kids, or we're having family picnics there, or maybe it just provides more green type space that isn't developed on with houses or strip malls or that kind of thing. Everyone pretty much buys into Smith Clove Park, but not everyone has really bought into the idea of TMAC. And that's what you have to really overcome here. And that's why we're looking for more information. You know, Councilman Burke harkened back to the idea of a committee of some kind or another, a group of advisors. Well, I wasn't in favor of this building when the old owner owned it. I have an old gripe with this theater. It has nothing to do with who owns it now. I think it would be better as a public enterprise than as a government entity, but you own it. And to get more input from the citizens of this town, especially those with business or financial background, to maybe, you talked about the duck boats. It's several years old. It's relatively breaking even. It'd be nice to see the theater, if we're going to continue to own it as a town, get to that point at least. It isn't a business because it's not owned by a business, but it's a business. And it could make money. Or it could at least break even if it was done as well as it could be done. And that's what I'd like to see.
Next speaker.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name's Alice. I live in New York. I wasn't really going to speak tonight
tonight, but somebody brought up the tree code, and I'd like to see something happen with the tree code. Are we going to wait until your bosses in KJ just cut down all the trees? This is something that needs to be addressed. And as far as the senior center included with the town hall, I think that's a very bad idea. I don't understand the logic behind that at all. There seems to be no reason for it. I'd like to hear the reason you have, Mr. Doles, for wanting to include a senior center with the town hall. Thank you. Or the town, senior housing, excuse me, with the town center. Thank you.
Tom Repola.
Over here. Sir?
Mr. Lepola?
Sir?
Guy in the red shirt.
Thank you. Tom Repola, Village of Monroe. Initially, I wasn't going to speak either. Most of the people have already addressed what I wanted to discuss. When you first bought the theater, I thought it was a good idea. I actually did. I thought it was a good idea. I thought you were going to use it as a municipal building in lieu of the building we had, and that would have made sense to provide services that a government is supposed to do. I work for a governmental agency. It provides a service. We don't make a profit. This is a business. Traditionally, historically, municipalities cannot run businesses. These charts mean nothing to me. I just know historically, municipalities cannot run businesses. And just a quick aside, Mr. Martin alluded to somebody before who disagreed with him on whether this is a service or if this is a business. To me, it's a business. You might think it's a service. That's fine. But he's a paid employee. He's not an elected official. I just want to hear from this gentleman numbers. I don't want his opinions. I just want to hear numbers. That's what his job is for. I don't want his, he's a paid employee. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much, and I ask that for those who would like to, we will adjourn to attorney-client. Give me a minute, we'll compose that. But you're certainly welcome to, the time is now 9:43. If you want to take a couple of minutes, we're going to, and again, bear with me while I get this out. We're going to return to attorney-client to discuss. An issue on a 280A variance, a litigation on two issues of litigation, as well as a pending civil action on one of our homeowners, as well as a partial continuation on one of the elements regarding a time and a possible land donation by one of our residents. There is one further thing, and that is regarding a best practice management standard for the use of road salt and other types of matrix that is currently used by the town. That being said, may we adjourn?
Can you answer people first? Because if these things take forever, I mean, for us to sit around for you guys to come back.
Dennis, you know what, young man, I will. You're absolutely right. But if we can hold that part so I don't have to redo it, we can make the motion subject to this discussion.
So moved.
Second? Call the question? Aye. I'll start off. Mr. Lepola, regarding government services, government should not run services. In my opinion, it happens all the time.
Services they can.
Yes.
Services they can. I provide a service. I have no problem with it. We can't run anything at a profit. It's impossible.
We are not.
I would hope you do. You do. God bless you.
We are looking, and it's been taken, we can run where even is. It is our goal. We are trying to find the right equation for that. We're trying to find how we maximize income versus expenses. Again, I think you were here at the beginning. One of our concerns is during the week. If I had it my way, all of us, we wouldn't be open in the movie theater business Monday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's just no money to be made, but we have to because that's an obligation. We're trying to find the ways that on those days which it's slow, to be able to reduce staff. On those days which it's slow, try to increase other opportunities. We've created this, and we're looking at a couple of government agencies and other venues to be able to run this or to be able to pay for it during the daytime. The screens, the equipment that we have, even though part of it was paid for in the PEG programming money from Cablevision, we still have an investment here and we want to get a return. You know, part of the equation here is that you have a board that's been here for a couple of years, and then Dennis came on. And Dennis brought a brand new perspective. He brought that perspective, and he insisted, and many of you folks had insisted that they have Dennis try to inculcate some sense of private accounting procedures. And for me, my first reaction, being in government, was, well, we're municipal. They're two different things. How government doesn't or does depreciate assets differs than in the private sector. I think we come a long way, at least I think I have, in fighting Councilman McWaters and being obstinate to a terrible point where he's provided a medium for us to be able to understand that there is this kind of balance that needs to be understood. No, we're not here to make money, but we're not here to also lose a lot of money. We're here to find out where that equilibrium is. So I appreciate what you're saying in terms of not making money, but then we have to do, how do you not make money? And it's that balance which we're trying to...
Okay, no, I do appreciate your comments, and that's fair enough, but the only other thing is the time that you're focused on doing that takes away from your other responsibilities to the city, to the municipal, and that's my concern too.
It does.
But your comments are fair, we can keep it, but that doesn't always work. But I don't want it to take away from your responsibilities and the other councilman's responsibilities either.
And Mr. LaPola, and I'm trying not to have the exchange on
I
Saturday
apologize.
morning. On Saturday morning, I received a call. The first thing I did, I got in the car and I went and I made sure that Water District 8 was being addressed. It was addressed because the person who runs that department was on vacation. It was a critical moment for, not my life, but it was a critical moment for their life. My job is to be there 24/7, and I am. Anyone knows, you call me, that phone is always glued to me. Wherever I am definitely with that phone. I even think about my wife bought me an iWatch so that I have better connection, communication between myself and the public. I thank you because a lot of time has been invested in this because of the singular purpose of not failing. It's also been invested because how do we as government try to run it as a business, but also maintain the integrity that it's a municipality? And again, I have two people on both ends, and the town board, which is somewhat, it's a friction, but it's a healthy friction, or it's becoming a healthier friction. I hope I've answered that question.
Could I jump in on the,
No.
since you're talking about the theater and the expenses?
Not at this point, Peter, and I appreciate it. Regarding the tree code, we need the tree code. Somebody had mentioned about the bosses in KJ. None of you will be able to show one thing that I did, any of the board members have done for Curious Joel. At this point, we have no contract, and I'm looking at you. We have no contract with KJ, with that highway contract. We may have it, we may not have it. Peter has gone through the numbers. The issue is whether or not it's in the best interest of the town of Monroe to maintain it. We're going to have to look at profitability. Those numbers will come out. Those numbers will be reviewed by the public. And if and when we do sign it, you will know exactly why we did or why we didn't. There's a cost, and there's a benefit, and there's a downside to not doing it. But it's something which is going to be fully explored. And you people will be able to see them on those screens and on the screen behind us. Regarding cutting down the trees, Curious Joel has never asked us to do anything. And Steve Newhouse got more votes than Harley Doles did in the election. And for him to come and wind up telling us what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, I would ask, let's discuss what he's doing and what right and what he is doing wrong. Regarding why the senior housing,
This is lunacy.
the senior housing for a time, that's a gentleman named Jonah Mandelbaum owns that property. That property is attached or right next to the housing, or right next to the 8-sign parcel. As I mentioned earlier, that would be able to provide senior housing, something which Mr. Mandelbaum had wanted to do with the Village of Monroe and had discussed with us last year in detail when we were thinking about purchasing the property, the two properties. That's why the idea of bringing it up to the public is something which is intriguing, because to bring senior housing where there's so little senior housing in a community that has so many resources should be and could possibly be just the right thing for this community to embrace. Again, that's what the purpose of the public hearing or hearings will wind up bringing out. How does senior housing factor into, an overall benefit for the residents here in the town of Monroe? Regarding...
There's maybe some of the other board members.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Rick, I was just going to go...
You don't have to help.
Regarding Jack, Mr. Manson, is it?
Jack.
I thank you for your comments. I agree. And Ward, regarding the timeframe for the tree codes, it's been done. Regarding the compost resolution and putting it into the proper legal framework, I apologize for that. That was my error, and I apologize to the board for having it presented in the manner that it was. But it will be done. Gentlemen, I'm done.
Well,
What about me? You didn't address me.
Gentlemen, I'm done.
What about my
Good.
concern?
Good.
you have many.
Feeling discriminated against.
Don't feel.
He didn't address my concern.
There was one thing that really disturbed me. I'll tell you, well, among many things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to time myself. Because if everybody gets 3 minutes, I think it's only fair that I keep myself under that. So I will time my comments. One, at the last meeting, one of our other citizenry had gotten into a comment from one of the other supervisors running a department. And if you notice, at the end of that meeting, I personally took that issue to that person to discuss it, because we work for all of you. We work for our citizenry. And although I may not agree with every perspective out there, and maybe they don't agree with my perspective, I still have to be respectful to the people who either elected me or did not elect me, but I still have to be respectful to the citizenry. I answer to you, just like every one of these board members. So I wanted to take that up personally with that individual, okay, about what was said and how it was said. And I took that up that evening. I don't think that anybody here is going to stand for any employee or any representative of this town speaking in a manner that's disrespectful to our citizenry. And I publicly apologize to all of you for that. Minute and 23 seconds. Second, when this building was purchased, the original intent was to have the theaters downstairs and the public offices upstairs. There was offense taken to the fact that we would put in the courts. It was so noted, and we had changed and said, okay, we're not going to put the courts in. Right now, as I see it, we have too much invested in this to let this go too soon. The town board, like it or not, and I'm a member, has put in what I consider an extraordinary expense into this building. And at this point, I think that we're stuck with it for at least a bit until we can get our expenses under control, get a management direction on this, and get some sanity as far as expenses, real expenses, and depreciation of equipment. Or if you say we can't depreciate business, equipment, that at least replacement for the equipment. So I think what we should do is have a realistic look at what we project in the next year or two and give those projections to the public. I got less than 10 seconds left. So I apologize to the rest of you for not getting to everything, and I'll try to always keep my comments clear. And as always, all of you have open access to me on the street as well as on my phone. Thank you.
Yeah, I heard about the Swan boat and the other incident, and Mr. Pendergast told us about that outside in the Citizens Caucus, and then here. So we'll report this to the manager and see what, what we can do to make sure stuff like this does not happen. So, some of the actions that you described that happened would indicate that those particular people should not be allowed to rent a boat again. So, we'll take a look at it, and the manager will make some recommendations, and we'll see what we can do about it. In regard to using the time to record dogs, I've spoken with our dog control officer, and he told me it's not free, that it's something like $200. But he has an adoption system that is working, and he has a wide-ranging Facebook page with, I think, 2,000 people on it. He posts the dogs move along, so the adoption system he's using is working well. I would ask a citizen who is interested in the dog shelter to maybe give me a call, and we'll set up a visit to the dog shelter. We can talk to the dog control officer, and those ideas can go directly to him, and he can tell you what the operation is like there. I mean, that might be an enjoyable visit. I think you should do that. Just call me, and we'll set that up.
30 seconds.
But we had I appreciate that Councilman Cologne limited his time, but however, I have a few points I have to make, and I'm going to make them. I hope you'll have a little bit of patience, okay? I'm speaking as quickly as I can, and I'll get it out there. Oh yeah, we asked about the solar farm. Well, we had a meeting this afternoon with OnForce, and it's on schedule. The DEC clearance coming up, then we issue a permit. There'll be a groundbreaking ceremony, and then the construction will start early autumn, and then by the end of the year we'll have power coming out of that solar array. So yes, I mean, we're following this. We're very anxious about this. We're following this very closely, and keep asking, and I'll tell you exactly where we are on it, because I want this to succeed. Oh yeah, and about the composting. All right, so we have what Tuxedo does, or whatever another town does. So what we're going to do is we'll go into attorney-client. Our attorney will take a look at it. He'll draft a document that'll be good for us. We'll decide if a public hearing is needed. When we come back out, we will schedule a public hearing, and we will get this moved to the next step, and we'll do that tonight. I resent, let me not resent, I take exception to having our controller, who is a town officer, who serves a 2-year term, who has had 20 years as a councilman, who is experienced, and information and advice is very valuable, and we ask him to tell us stuff and tell the audience stuff. And I don't think that he should be spoken of as a town employee in a pejorative sense, where you only say numbers, but you're not allowed to have your opinion. We want his opinion.
He sniped at a citizen. He sniped at a citizen.
Mr. Lopola, next time you come to speak, every time you say something I disagree with, I'm going to shout out.
Yeah! You're not being honest, though.
Yeah.
We can keep our emotions in check.
Just to hear someone I work with every day who puts in the hours and puts in the time, and it's passionate about the theater, passionate about everything else in town government. And to hear him disparaged, I resent that. And I think
he wasn't. His comments were.
All right. I heard him being told that he's a town employee and should only give you numbers.
Ladies and gentlemen, please
what is this, a debate?
And let Councilman Burke finish.
Okay, I have finished, and thank you very much. Thanks for coming,
Dennis,
everybody.
if there's something you'd like to say.
And Mary, I realize that you weren't part of the question period at the end of our meeting, but as far as Water District number 12 goes, I will follow up and stay on top of the board regarding the income survey to see if we can get that started, and also the application for the loan rate modification. If that's an ongoing situation or funding from the state of New York, it would be another reason for us to accelerate the acceptance of Water District number 14, because that may also apply, and they're going to be facing a rather large loan too. So if it's over 20 or 30 years, 33 and a third % cut in the interest rate is a significant number over time. Okay, so we'll follow up with that. I think everything else has pretty much been addressed. Veronica, I endorse everything that Councilman Cologne said about we will not accept, I personally will not accept that kind of attitude from any town employee. I don't do it myself. I hope if any of you ever catch me doing that, please lock my heels. That's not the way we're supposed to behave. You're paying our salaries, we're here to work for you. Jeff, I realize I'm sympathetic with a lot of your points. There is one thing, though, that I would like to mention. I know everybody in this audience, and maybe a few others who aren't here tonight, are dead set, and have always been dead set against this movie theater. But I have to tell you that of the 10,000 tickets that were purchased, there's a list of folks who want a town ID that is almost 900 people. So there are some people in this town who really have been here and do appreciate the movie theater. I'm not saying it's a majority, I'm just giving you a flat number. Tom, to your point, I made a vote a couple of months ago which got me in a lot of political hot water. And that was to allow the Downing Film Festival to manage the projection and the purchase or the rental of movies for this theater. I took a lot of heat for that. I won't go any further on that. I think everybody in this audience knows exactly what I'm referring to. There's another 10,000 people out there who have no concept of what I'm talking about. The reason I voted for that was because the alternative was selling an empty building for $880,000, or mark it up if you will for whatever expenses were already in it, to fix this place up and make it pass a CO. The place leaked, the elevators didn't work, it was shut. Nobody was going to buy it as a movie theater, although there were evidently, according to the supervisor, there were a lot of folks who indicated that there might be some buyers out there. I don't even know about that. But in any case, in my mind, and the reason I voted for it was, number one, if we don't approve it as a movie theater and get it moving, this is just going to be money after money. Number two, if we can make it get close to break even, we've got an ongoing enterprise that could appreciate in value. We may be able to sell it for more than we put into it. That was my whole reason. I have never, ever, and this board has heard me say it before, I have never, ever changed my attitude or my philosophy about whether or not a government should be operating a facility such as this as a private enterprise. No. Right. If this thing turns the corner, great, we get more money out of it. If it doesn't turn the corner, we kill the contract, close the doors, and try and sell it. Hopefully, it goes on as an ongoing, close to break even, and somebody says, oh, we can make a go of this as a private enterprise. That's all I wanted. And my final point, I know I'm going over the 3 hours, and I know I'll get criticized for this because I'm taking a shine to the supervisor, but the supervisor has really been pushing the concept of making this get as close to break even as possible. I know he's not got all the numbers encased, but he is looking at that day to day. He's seeing that $48,000 deficit, and he wants to shrink that. And I think he's trying every effort. At least that's how the emails are going, between himself and the folks who are managing the day-to-day and copying all of us. So I have to give him some credit. He is really on top of this. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Harlan.
I think we're going to, Peter, I do appreciate, you have done your job, and in my opinion, you do it well. I think the board appreciates, but I think it's time that we moved into executive, and I thank you. I know what you're probably going to say, but it is perhaps at a better time than to say it. That being said, I'd like to make a motion to move to executive.
Yeah, we did that.
We did that. Ladies and gentlemen,
We got a vote.
We did. We had made a motion earlier, we stand adjourned. If you'd like to, you're welcome to stay here. Perhaps the